Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning. It is May 20th, Monday. We got a fairly active market this morning. So, news-wise, I'm seeing Donald Trump is on the warpath again, talking about Iran. Also, Huawei pretty much got the death knell today with Google saying that they just can't be included in Android phones anymore. Yeah, and here's the open. I'm not seeing like a ton of volume coming through. I'm not seeing, it's not like crazy, but it's a decent amount. My restream control here is just not happy apparently. All right, well I can see the chat over here, so I got you guys. I see y'all. All right. And let's just pull this up over here. Okay. Anyways, the charts. Okay, so you can see Treasuries have moved up a little bit, but we're mostly to where we closed on Friday. I thought that the move down on Friday was a pretty big move down. Perhaps not justified, so they're going to retest that. I'm unsure. I didn't see like a ton of volume there on the open, so it's kind of uncertain for me. There you can see the E-mini did move down quite a bit below Friday's levels, so E-mini looks scared and Treasury's not really responding. 6J moving up as well. Okay. So we might actually be able to trade this. We got the stuff. Anyways, let's see here. Oh, and I do have to check one more thing. And that is the I gotta make sure that we've got the right date on the title of our video. Here we are. Yeah, the restream chat is not working. So I see that Uzi got firsties again. And Zaldia, good morning. All right, so it is not the 17th, it is the 20th. There we go. I'm probably just gonna have to keep open the YouTube chat. Okay, well, so far, since the open, it looks like the impulses have been down. I'm a little hesitant. Zalid, am I saying that right? Zalidia? I'm not sure. That name seems kind of familiar, but I don't think we've seen you before. So, if we have seen you before, I apologize, and I'm a bad person. But if not, welcome. I'm glad to have you. Hopefully, we have an interesting week. Hopefully, we have like good trading like we did last week. With it moving down, though, I'm a little skeptical with it moving down. Let's type something here. All right. Let's see here. Somebody's having a problem with an indicator that I sent them, so let's Good deal. Okay. Anyways, oh, and there's Shalom. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Bonds look like they are good to rise or due to rise. I mean, I feel like they should, but I don't know, Shalom. I mean, the thing is, one of the things that I like to watch is if, you know what, I need to open up my pen. Okay, that's another thing. I need to add to my checklist. Epic pen. When I get started. By the way, I used music to get the stream started today. Was that okay? You guys okay with that? Turn it off afterwards, but we can turn it back on if we want. Okay. Anyways, so we got this pen. Okay. So when we opened right about here, I believe, and we've ticked it down by a tick, by three ticks below the open. So I really like to pay attention to the open. If I see strong volume right on the open, and that can be a good indication that people are out there looking to trade, and then we could have a good move. Good morning, Rob. Lewis says he enjoyed the music. Well, good. Yeah, I used I got Spotify here, and Juna has a playlist that is all Twitch friendly. It's got like 300 songs on there. So it is like the perfect background music. Now I'm hesitant to play it while we're actually live here, because maybe you want to listen to your own music, and I don't want to mess up those people, because I know that a lot of people listen to like a ton of different things. But when it gets going, I think it's good to have it on there so that people will know that it's actually doing something, So, if they're worried about the stream cutting out on them or something, they'll just hear the music disappear. So I think it should be fine. Got a lot of people watching this morning too, so maybe it worked. I don't know. See, they're still selling it. They're still selling it, although it does appear to be fairly balanced here at 16. So see, if I thought that the fundamental picture favored moving down, and let me rephrase that. I feel that the fundamental picture favors some moves up, like quick moves up. And if I had seen, like, we had started at 13 and we'd come up and we were balancing around 16, then maybe I would take it there at 16. But it moved down first, and so now I'm just kind of not sure. And I think that I should just kind of sit and watch and stay out of it. The Fed stated they are doing a rotating peg targeting various maturities. Ooh, okay. Let's see here. Do I see? Let me, I need to rearrange my workspace here a little bit. Okay. There we go. Now I got you guys there on YouTube. If you're saying something on Twitch, I'm just not going to see it today because Restream is not working properly. Oh, actually, now I am seeing it. I see it there, but I don't see it in my chat window over here. Let's try closing it and then opening it back up. Nope. It just doesn't like it. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Well, anyways. They're doing the same thing as Japan did prior to the interest rates going negative. Ooh. Okay, so let me just go down through here. Oh, Donald Trump did tweet, why are the Democrats not looking into all the crimes committed by crooked Hillary and the phony Russia investigation? They would get back their credibility. Jerry Nadler's shift would have a whole new future open to them, perhaps that they could even run for president. And we have a booming economy and working people are making gains that they haven't seen in decades. So, retweeting Stuart Varney. China in no rush to restart trade talks, says CNBC. So I don't see anything. Huawei bonds in free fall. Ugh, that's super bad. Oh, I guess we should check our news for the week too. Filters everything, but just only USD. No, so Chairman Powell is speaking tonight. A bunch of Fed speakers tomorrow and existing home sales. It's pretty light on news this week, though. This is another reason why I'm a little hesitant. I know this is where things tend to get slowed down. Hey, Gabriel, how's it going? Wait, amigo. Como vai? Oh, that means how are you, right? I'm just guessing from the Spanish that I know. I'm trying to guess what it means in Portuguese. So focus here, Seth. I want to find this story that was just being highlighted to us. U.S. breaks record for dividends. So Huawei can still use Android. They just have to use the open source version. Game of Thrones finale left water bottles in key scene, further inciting die-hard fans. Oh no! The whole series is ruined, guys. There's a water bottle in the scene. I don't think that the fans are too upset about it. I think that they probably find it amusing. You know what? I don't find that story. If you could link me that, I would appreciate it. Like Brazil. DB downgraded to sell, so get ready. Well, things could get interesting. Oh. I got you. Hold on, I gotta type here. Okay, so there was a little bit of a move up and it came back on us. Interesting. Let's see if it fills us here. The E-mini did have a little bit of a rush down there. XRP is about to get the golden cross. Yeah, I saw people highlighting that Ethereum got the golden cross. By the way, what does our Bitcoin futures look like? Well, they opened up a little bit higher, but the market orders don't seem to care. I'm a little concerned with the way that Bitcoin behaved over the weekend. Let me see if I can show you guys what I mean here. Pull this up so that we're not covering up order flow. Okay, it looks like they're not going to fill that though. I think I'm going to need to go to like a 6-hour chart. Okay. Yeah. I think that's really good. Okay, so here's the move that we've been seeing, right? Okay, here is a high, and they came up and they tested that high again. When we got there, okay, coming up, there was some decent volume here. Um, because the volume was as it was moving up and not here at the top, I think that that's a pump. That's somebody bought a ton of Bitcoin and moved it up there to 8K. All right. Then it fell and we got this right here. Okay. Let's not do it like that. Let's just circle it. Okay. So that was the sell. So this right here, that's a pullback at this point. Now we have another buy and it's right there. What do you see? Decreasing volume. So the actual interest in it is actually decreasing. Now, the thing with Bitcoin is that it could really do anything because it just takes one big guy coming in. But I'm concerned that a big guy came in up here and he's stuck. And now that we've had a pullback and a return back to that level, there appears that there is not as much interest. And so that's why it concerns me. You have a Bitcoin target of 10K. I don't know. Gabriel saying in Brazil, I trade dollar futures. Okay. I don't quite understand, but yeah. Oh, you know what? Though we should switch this so that it's only showing today. We haven't taken any trades yet. Bitcoin pumped on the Middle East Open. Seems like they're getting ready. Well, yeah. This goes back to this whole thing that I just do not believe that Bitcoin is a flight to safety asset. I think that what happens is something happens and somebody that maybe has a lot of money thinks that it's bullish when it's not. Which platform? Yeah, well, in this, I didn't necessarily see a pump. Like, it seems to me like there's just not as much volume out in the cryptocurrency space today. So I just, what were you talking about? Okay, so wrong. The administrator, from what I can tell, so the thing is, this is like a really fuzzy situation because we don't really have the data, but this is with Iran. So let's just review the whole thing, right? The administration believed that Iran was breaking the agreement that they had made with the Obama administration. So we unilaterally pulled out of that agreement and imposed sanctions on Iran. And that's been really hurting Iran's economy. And it looks like all of that money that Obama gave them, that they've already wasted it all and given it to terrorists. And so Iran is really feeling the pinch. And so Iran has been trying, kind of like saber rattling, trying to get something to happen because they're starting to feel very, very desperate. So the administration apparently has actionable intelligence that Iran is possibly planning on doing something. And we don't exactly know what it is, but like the media reports that we do get that are like we probably shouldn't have seem to indicate that like they have intelligence that Iran is like has like an attack like planned, like they're going to attack American ships in the Strait of Hormuz or something like that. Last I heard, they were talking about they were loading missiles onto the Iranian ships and that they were maybe going to try and sink one of the U.S. carriers. So Donald Trump doesn't want to have a war with Iran, and there's been this big thing over in the media about, oh, John Bolton and co are just trying to bait Donald Trump into a war. I don't know if that's really what's going on, but the military does seem to have some intelligence that maybe something's going to happen. The problem with such intelligence is that you really don't. I mean, the Iranians could just be saber rattling, trying to make something happen. I don't think that the United States is going to do a preemptive attack of any kind. But he's been saying, don't threaten the United States or that will be the end of your country. The Straits are responsible for around 25% of global oil shipments, yes. So, okay, so we did get a tick up finally. But the way that it's going right now, it has me a little bit unsure. I think that I can hold on to it because that wasn't necessarily the move that I was looking for. Yeah, see that the 16 probably go offer easily if they take it. So if you are rich and you need to move money, there are not many options. Yes, there is. It's called the US dollar. Listen, if Iran does something, if they actually attack the United States, these treasuries in the US dollar are skyrocketing out of here, man. Oh, it'll be a good move. It'll be a good move. I do not see why you would want to put it in bitcoins. If you are a whale, if you are a big money manager, and you hear that there is an attack on Iran or from Iran, and your reaction is, "Oh, I gotta buy Bitcoin," you probably don't deserve to have that much money. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Mm-hmm. Notice we do not hear about Syria anymore. Yeah, that is interesting. Well, I think that that's because they pretty much resolved the situation in Syria, didn't they? You cannot move money through the banks as governments have capital controls. Well, okay, I guess if you are like doing something that you shouldn't, then maybe. But if you live in the United States, why wouldn't you just move your money back in dollars? It doesn't make sense to me. There is no fundamental tie between Bitcoin and geopolitical risk. The number one way to move money currently is artwork. Okay. Well, all I'm saying is if the hedge fund managers, they're not going to go out and buy Bitcoin, right? They're going to buy treasuries. They're going to buy the dollar. And that's why treasuries are a little bit elevated this morning, but not just like popping off. Because I think that they're reacting mostly to this Iran news. And, although there's reason to be concerned, there's nothing like actionable happening yet. It's still kind of like rumors of wars, right? Bitcoin was born during the crisis. Oh, so the real market is the black market, which most people discount. Yeah, well, so Bitcoin was born during the crisis, but if you look at the longer term movements, and like one of the things you got to be careful with in Bitcoin is you see a move and something's happening at that time, and so you're automatically going to say, oh, well, it must have been because of X thing. That must mean that when X happens, that Bitcoin has the tendency to move up. Now, if you were looking at treasuries, that would be a pretty reasonable assumption to make because treasuries react very, very quickly to news and they're very, very efficient. Bitcoin is not the case. Bitcoin is extremely inefficient and it can take months sometimes for some of these things to play out. I mean, come on. The 80% of Bitcoin volume out there happens through Tether. And we have found out that the Tether is not 100% backed and that the feds are investigating Bitfinex. And if the Tether isn't backed, who knows what else they're doing. And we also know that Blockstream, who runs Bitcoin Core, has some business arrangements with Bitfinex. So I will almost wonder if they're going to get caught up in that. And so we know that that's happening out there, but they're buying. Is that a reason to buy? No, I don't think so. I think that if the The Feds, I keep wanting to say the Federal Reserve for some reason. No. If the Feds come in and actually start doing stuff, which I think is pretty likely, although it may take them a while to do their investigation. But if they come out and start doing stuff, Bitcoin is going to get creamed. They're going to confiscate a ton of coin. It's going to be just like Mt. Gox. It'll be worse than Mt. Gox because these guys were involved in a lot more fraud. Okay. That's a risk out there. Is it priced into the market? I mean, they're moving up. They're moving up, right? So when I look at this price, when you look at Bitcoin price, I think the only real assumption that you can make is that, especially when it really, really moves up, is that a really big guy out there bought it. I think that that's the only true call that you can really make with any amount of confidence. Now, when you look at the longer term trends, what I think you will find is that Bitcoin tends to do better. By the way, I'm going to minimize this so we can see the E-mini. Bitcoin tends to do better when markets are risk on. Okay. When we were going through the whole 2017 move up, right? That was during a very, very good bull market in stocks and equities. And many people were saying that the whole thing was overblown. And a lot of people were saying that the equity markets were overbought. And then as soon as the Federal Reserve came in and put the brakes on, not only did equity markets take a little bit of a break, but Bitcoin completely crashed. Why is that? Because the primary driver of price in Bitcoin is speculation. So you can make a speculation based on geopolitical, whatever. But if you are doing that, you are still making a very speculative call. A very speculative call. And you're not going to do that unless you have money to speculate with. Now, if you don't have money to speculate with, if you're a hedge fund and you need to preserve your investors' capital, you don't go and put it into something risky. You put it into treasuries, you put it into the dollar. If Tether disappeared, Bitcoin would go much higher. No. So we did see that people did buy Bitcoin as they got out. Sure. But you see a rise and then a collapse. In fact, we may be in the middle of that. I don't know. It kind of looks like they bought the Bitcoins, but now they're not. Now that they've bought the Bitcoins, it's tricked everybody into thinking that we're in a bull market. So they haven't given them up yet. That's kind of what I think is going on. Zero interest rates for speculation. Well, yeah, so the lower the interest rates are, the more capital is going to be out there to invest in risky things, and so that is good for Bitcoin. But interest rates are not zero. Now, if we do reduce interest rates, then I suppose that would be good. But I just don't think that you buy it on like a risk event, like a war with Iran. You don't buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin will move, and I'm sure people will speculate on it, but I don't think that it's a reliable trade. Okay, so I've been in this for a little while. I think that the reason that I got into this is probably not really, well, I think that I'm in a very speculative trade here myself, because I'm speculating that the E-mini is going to drop here, or there's going to be some sort of a scare and treasuries are going to move back up to the highs. Right now, it's kind of ranging. It says to me that I picked a good spot, but that I don't really have any kind of real momentum behind me. I'm still waiting for some momentum to come in. It may not come, and it may just go against me. So I'm probably still in 50-50 land. Now that we are getting decent amount of stuff going into 16.5, so I could just go for the one tick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Most income comes from fixed income, so as the yield falls, you must find income in the more risky investments. Yeah. Well, the way that I look at it is just that there's more dollars out there. So if there's more dollars out there competing for investments, then the risky things are going to move up. But we don't know if we're in a monetary, you know, expansion cycle that they're about to do that. We don't actually know that. A little too early to be making that kind of a call. It's certainly a real possibility at the very least. They're absorbing quite a bit here at 16. I would say overall that the absorption favors us going long, but I don't know. Hmm. I think what causes, if we're talking about Bitcoin, what causes the collapse in Bitcoin is that the only reason anybody buys Bitcoin is because they're speculating. And if it's not going to be moving up anymore, there's no reason for them to be in it, and they all get out. As much as people like to say that they're hodl and all of that, it's a very small percentage of the market that actually does that. Because, like, honestly, who's going to take an 80% decline? And if you're speculating, you're going to say to yourself, oh, I can do better than that. You've got a tick. They're not getting over 2,000 here at 16.5 yet, but it's thinking about it. There you go. Not a flip yet, but thinking about it. Nope, not that time. E-mini possibly iron lows again. It's interesting that it's like that. Treasuries aren't immediately reacting to it. And it kind of looks to me like the 6J is kind of still in reversion right now. It's not like gangbusters higher. Well, I don't know. Anyways, it might take this a while to play out in Bitcoin, so we'll just see. But I suppose I would say it's good that Bitcoin got back up to 8K, but it's bad that it did it on less volume. And it's bad that it didn't push any further than that. And I think that there's still reason to be concerned about the price action that we're seeing there. If we get another big sell, then I think that the market is going to call it a double top. And then the sentiment flips very, very quickly just because of a technical indicator like that in Bitcoin, right? Hmm. So they did move up. They absorbed 2189 at 16.5. So somebody bought it. E-mini made a new low there, but not much. Okay, so that time that we ticked up, they posted a 35. Hmm. Yes, and sure enough, there's the next tick. And we're seeing a big old order showing up now below us at 01. And my Vista chart is jacked up. Fix it. Fix it. Yeah. Something that I find interesting is when I go to like, especially Bitcoin, like the official Bitcoin subreddit, mm, and you read people's posts, you can tell that it's just like there's the people are looking for a reason to justify the investment that they've made, and they don't really have a real strategy behind what they're doing. They're already in it, and they're saying, okay, see, this is happening, and this is happening. It's good for us. You're trying to talk yourself into it because you're worried. You're worried that you're buying a top. It's already moved quite a bit. The collapse I was speaking about was in the traditional markets, not Bitcoin. Yeah. And see, this is the other thing. I got to tell you. So this is something that I learned very, very early on, and I think I was quite lucky. And it was only because I was in the markets, early on. Like the market that I started in was the crash, like the 2008 crash. And I mostly was just watching charts when it was going down. So I didn't know anything about stocks. And everything that I learned, I started reading. I watched CNBC like literally all day while I was at work because you can watch it through Thinkorswim, That's where I learned. But I learned it all during the crisis, right? And I remember that when President Obama was made president, because it was kind of seemed like maybe he was over and they were recovering, but then Obama became president, and it was like they would come out and Jay Carney would have a press briefing and whatever, and they were trying to like talk up markets, and every time that he did that, the market hated it. They hated it, and sometimes they would say something bad, and then the market would really, really move down. Sometimes they would talk about, increasing regulations and this and that. But then sometimes they would just be like, hey, like everything's good and things are going to look great, and trying to talk the market up, and people would sell. I think that they look at it as a contrary indicator. Like if the administration feels the need to go out there and reassure people like that maybe there really is something to be concerned about. And so they sell it, right? And then one day it was like, they finally figured it out. Hey, we should just shut up. We shouldn't talk about markets. So they got out there and he had their press conference. They didn't say a thing about markets. They completely ignored it. And that was the bottom. Like that was the day that the S&P 500 hit 666 and the bull market began. And I remember very distinctly, and I can go back and look on my spreadsheets and stuff if I hadn't lost them, unfortunately, when I moved jobs. But I was very distinct that I said that this is it. This is the bottom. They say that bottom's an event, but the top is a process. I saw the event and it was very clear to me. And I remember at the time, there was so many people that thought, oh, it's not over. This thing is going to go further. And the big concern, what they called it at the time, was the double dip recession. You heard that phrase before? Double dip recession. That was the big concern at the time, was that we were going to have a double dip recession. And I was still a little cautious. I remember there was kind of a head and shoulders pattern that kind of scared me. I also remember there was a period in the markets during the summer where things were just flat for like a month, and it was a nightmare. Never seen the markets like that. It sucked. But generally speaking, I stayed bullish, and there was many, many people where I would look and read on the internet, and they would be like, nope, it's going to fall. It's going to fall. And when you go back and you look at it, if you could buy the S&P 500 at 666, right? You're like, 6 times your money now, almost 5 times. Let's say 5, right? So what is the point of all of that? It pays the pay is much better being optimistic than it is being pessimistic. I have to say, I still, to this day, especially when you go in and read Zero Hedge, there's always somebody trying to predict that the markets are going to fall apart and it's all going to be doom and it's so terrible. Oh no, this trade war is going to just completely destroy the American economy. And, people were saying that a year ago. We actually went up and made new highs, which surprised even me, the way that we did it. Because I felt like that the saga wasn't over. But it pays more to be optimistic. And we got to remember, the financial system is much more stable than it was. It's a lot more stable than it was. If we did have a crisis, I think it would be pretty bad because it would require something just extraordinary to really get past all of the safeguards and regulations that we have in place. But it could happen. But I don't believe that it's a very good investment strategy to sit there and buy a risky asset or go short, even worse, go short the S&P 500 on the expectation that the U.S. economy is about to collapse. If you get paid, you'll make a lot of money in a very short amount of time, but you're not going to make as much money as if you go long and things actually turn out okay. Optimism pays better, my friend. Remember that. Because I've seen far too many people screw themselves over trying to make bearish bets on the market. Many, many people. Well, it's still pretty range bound. We got a decent buy up there, but they got to the open price at 17.5 and it died. We've been in this. How long have we been in this? Oh, we need to get rid of this. Okay. We've been in this 26 minutes. So it's about time to start looking to get out. I think I'll move this down here. Take a tick if I can. Toucan Sam says, I would short Tesla in my opinion. Well, the Tesla saga is super interesting, isn't it? And you certainly could have made money if you had gone short them. I don't know if that one is as good of a trade as it might seem from the charts because so many people did it. I mean, so many people did it. And the more people that were involved in it, the less you're going to make on it. Now it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's gone so far. Can you really double down on it? I don't know. Things do look pretty dire in Tesla, don't they? It's unfortunate. Although, I would still be looking at it from the perspective of let it completely collapse and then buy it on the hopes that there's a turnaround of some sort. Like that they force, who knows what could happen. I like Elon, but maybe they force him out of the company or something. But all sorts of things could happen. That reminds me of another thing. Was one of the best trades that I ever made. When I just barely started doing this, and I was messing with options and Thinkorswim, and I was doing Thinkorswim, and StockTwits was the new thing. StockTwits was brand new. It's kind of funny because now StockTwits is kind of derided, but at the time we thought that it was really cool. And that day, AIG earnings came out. Now that I've sold, they're just going to move right up, right? I like Elon too, but frankly, he's a snake oil salesman. Yeah, he seems to me. I notice this type of person gets into those kinds of situations all the time. I think that to do the sort of thing that Elon has been able to do with his company and his investments, you have to be a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? It's just you kind of have to be the kind of person that it just has an extreme degree of internal confidence in yourself, and this just complete denial of reality that that warps the perception of other people to allow them to do things that they don't really believe that they can do, you know? And he was able to do it for so long, but now they've made so many missteps. I don't know. Although the interesting thing too is that Tesla isn't necessarily down because Elon Musk did something stupid. Although that's certainly part of it, but apparently the big reason why it's down now is because there's been like explosions and car fires and that sort of a thing. If it was just the explosions and the car fires, I would be looking to buy it. I knew this guy. He had bought Tesla back when it was like nothing. Like literally, this had to have been. It's 2018 right now. This had to have been like 2010, 2012, something like that. He was so loaded. He had just made so much money from Tesla. He basically didn't have to work anymore. He purchased his house. He lived off of some fixed income. He still worked, but he was available all the time. It was great interacting with him. He was a great guy. But he had made money on buying Tesla, and he just kind of got lucky. And me doesn't even talk about the Nasdaq. Well, that's probably because it's not as bad as you think it is. I mean, honestly, think about it. If it was that bad, there is some news. There is some news that the media can't afford not to cover. You know what I mean? Like, there's just going to be so much interest in it, and it's such a big deal. You've got to cover it. Like the 2008 crisis, media cannot afford not to cover that. And that was all that they talked about on TV for 6 months. The 2008 crisis, and they hit it like a broken record, you know. After the crash, I'm going to be along Goldman, J.P. Morgan, Tesla, Google, Amazon, Wind Resorts, and MO. I don't know what MO is. Those are all okay. I'd say I don't think that portfolio is very well diversified. So what would we change? Well, so you got a financial. So I would switch one of those financials out. Probably JP Morgan is a better financial right now than Goldman Sachs, even though I own Goldman Sachs. Hasn't been doing very well lately. I think that they have some good growth ahead of them, though, because Goldman Sachs is going into the consumer banking business, and that could be a lot of growth for them. Okay, Tesla is a car and green energy company, and Google, Amazon is a tech. So you would have to pick one of Google or Amazon, right? Wynn Resorts, that one's kind of more property and gambling. So I'd say that one is okay. But I think that we need to like diversify. So like maybe we could pick up like maybe a telecom, or what else? You know, like a telecom or a utility might be one. You would want something counter cyclical. You know, something that does well and has a good dividend. Does well when we're not doing so well. Yeah, 6 months prior to the collapse, Ben Bernanke came out and said everything is fine. Well, he said one thing that was very, very specific on housing. And, you know, from the data that they had, what he said was reasonable, but many people knew that what they were looking at was bullshit. So I wouldn't necessarily read too much into that. But I don't see anything in the markets right now. Trade wars and a war with Iran are certainly concerns, but they're not the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like if this trade war goes into a full-blown thing, it could maybe trigger a recession, but it wouldn't be like a financial collapse, you know? It would just be a run-of-the-mill recession. But I don't see anything in terms of panic that isn't anything that I haven't been seeing people been saying for the past 10 years. They're always wrong. Someday they'll finally be right. This is another thing that drives me crazy. You remember this guy, The Big Short? Oh, you know what? Even better example. You guys remember Sheila Bear? Oh my gosh, Sheila Bear. Who was it? Let's. They still have stuff. What happened to Sheila? Sheila Bear. Bair. Sheila Bear. Career. Mm-hmm. Nope, I don't see a whole lot of anything now. Well, this is her, Sheila Bear. So Sheila Bear was a am am I reading this correct? Mm, yes, that's right. Yes. Okay, so anyways, she was basically this analyst that called the financial crisis. And she was very, very well respected at the time because she had done that. And then she kind of, I don't know if it was her ego got the best of her or something like that, but she came out and she said, okay, the next big crisis, the next big collapse thing that's going to happen here is there's going to be a collapse in municipal bonds. Never happened. And this was like 8 years ago, right? Never happened. Everybody stopped listening to her because she came out with her research and everybody said, you know what, this is total bullshit. Like it's not going to happen. And nothing happened. And so they all forgot about her. Like the thing is the person that comes in and makes the bear call often tends to be somebody that's always making the bear call. And then, once in a cycle, they actually come out and they're right. And everybody thinks that they're a genius, even though they just kind of got lucky that they didn't go bankrupt before they finally got it short. It was the same thing with Paulson, right? The guy that The Big Short was about. Next year, he didn't do very well because he kept trying to take these big shorts and he didn't realize that, hey, you got lucky and now we're in a recovery and you want to buy things. And he kept trying to be bearish. And it just didn't work. But they say the cycle is 10 years. Yes, but the thing that I don't think that the market realizes is that we've already been through the cycle a few times. Because the interest rates, we don't really get inflation anymore, even though the inflation level over the past 10 years has been pretty close to 2%. It's low, right? Like the Federal Reserve can't raise interest rates because we're not getting the inflation. This past month, it undershot expectations. We don't get inflation, and so we don't raise rates, and so we've had low rates for an incredibly long time. So what happens is you get a crisis like we've had them, like the Euro crisis is probably the best example. We had a crisis, the market freaks out, everybody thinks that the world is about to end, and then as soon as they get to that point, it's like it just magically turns around and it's okay. And then we go up and we make a new high, and everybody's like, "Oh, will this bull market ever end?" But the truth is that we actually had a bear market there, and we actually had what would have before been a recession, but because the monetary policy is so easy, it just ended up being a pullback, right? So they've been through the cycle many times, and I would say that with this trade war stuff, that happened again. So as long as we don't have like a new piece of news come out today, equities could buy. Mm-hmm. You go short after the cycle, so 2020. Well, we'll see. The this this last bear market was different for sure. Good morning, Ace. This last bear market was different. Now I suspect that part of it last December was, that analysis that we were doing. It seemed like China was kind of putting their foot on the scale there. So maybe that's why it behaved the way that it did. Mm. The way that they're trading, they don't look too scared right now. We've been here at 16 the whole time. So normally when I'm in a trade for more than 30 minutes and it doesn't go anywhere, that usually means that it's going to turn around the other direction. So we bought it. They tried to break above the open twice and they didn't make it. There wasn't interest. I think I could buy the mini here. Yep, in fact, it's starting to turn like it could. I think that I need it to come back though. So, yeah, probably more than that. 38. 28, 38, 50. But he was taking it short. I think that we should take this long, Ace. Cycles never change because the debt is based on time. Well, I mean, it's the past 10 years has definitely been different. Now they are getting to the point where I think that a recession would not be out of the question. But the thing that I question is if it's going to be like a terrible one, Like people act like it's going to be the end of the world. I'm looking at it like, you know what? Mild recession wouldn't be a bad thing. So I'm not quite sure about the spot here. I'm seeing this volume profile, and I would prefer to be at the bottom end of this volume profile. I don't like buying up at the top of it. Yeah. Well, 38.75 is the middle. That would be okay. If I could catch this right here. Never the end of the world, but it's not going to be mild. How do you know? How do you know? I'm just saying, financial markets are a lot more stable than they used to be. I mean, for it to be a really bad recession, we would need to have some sort of a real significant market crash. Something in the system would have to fail big time that they haven't considered, and they're certainly out there. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's certainly a possibility. I think that, like for these hedge funds, for instance, it used to be that all the risk was in proprietary trading desks at the big banks. Now all of that risk, they basically spun it off into hedge funds. That kind of scares me because what would happen if all of the hedge funds went under? That market wouldn't be able to handle it. 28.39. Yeah, why is Dash booming like that? I haven't seen any news, but I am seeing like pumping. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on 39. It's not going to come back to 38 where I had my order. Treasuries do appear to be moving down. 40 would be, given the time of day and everything, I don't know if I should be doing that. Points of failure are higher due to globalization. I think what you mean is that there's more systemic risk. The nature of the system is systemic. So if the overall system is stronger, but if something does break, it ends up being a really big fucking deal. That's kind of the problem that I have with a lot of the current system that we have set up, or the problem that I have with Democrats in general right now, because I look at the Democrat Party. I'm very much a Republican, but I used to admire the Democrat Party when I was a kid. It was like they were really into rights. The Iraq War. I felt like I was wrong about the Iraq War, and that they had some good points. But ever since the 2008 crisis, the party has kind of been on this thing where it's like nobody is allowed to have something bad happen to them ever. You know, like we need to take all of the holes that can possibly be there in the financial system and we need to plug them in, and we just need to make sure that something like this never ever happens ever again, right? And you can hear it in a lot of their policies still, right? Like the big thing this past week has been that we need to get rid of the payday loan industry because it's predatory and nobody should be able to have that kind of a loan against them. And I look at it as like, well, look, if somebody wants to take out a loan with a 20% interest rate, as long as they understand what the risks are, who am I to say no to them? Who am I to do that? The honest truth is that for a certain amount of people out there that just happen to have really bad credit, that's like their only option. And maybe it is a good, I don't know. I mean, I've never been in that kind of situation, so I don't really know. I just know that I'm in no place to be making that kind of a decision for other people. But somebody else seems to think that you're too dumb. We need to protect you from yourself. It's just, I think that it's a poor way to run an economy. In order to make money, you have to take on risks. That's just the way that it is. And I think that part of the reason that we've had lower GDP throughout pretty much all of Obama's term was because they were way too risk adverse. They put all of these regulations in because they were afraid. But the truth is that risk is how you make money. And yet you want to make the reproductive decisions for women. Well, I don't want to make the reproductive decisions for women. No, certainly not. I mean, I think most Republicans are okay with birth control, except for maybe some of the ones down in like Alabama. Some of that is crazy, but I don't want to make reproductive decisions for anybody. But I do think that at a certain point it becomes a life, and that it should be illegal. I think that what we've done in Utah is okay, right? Because I don't, so like there's the idea among the really conservative circles that life begins at conception. Mm. From a religious standpoint, I guess that kind of makes sense to me. That would kind of, I think that that's a logical place to put it from a religious perspective. But I just don't think that that would be practical. I just don't think that that would be practical. So in Utah, it's the cutoff is 13 weeks. I think that, hey, if you get pregnant and you got 13 weeks to think about it, I think that that's plenty of time. But there's a certain point, like this whole thing about like you can abort the baby like right up till like the day of birth, or in some states it's now like even after they're born, is like insane. It's just absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. But to me, it's not. I'm not trying to control anybody's. No, I'm just trying to prevent murder because I believe at a certain point that person becomes a human with a right to life. At a certain point, the question is, at what point is it? Right. That's the whole. Really, that's the whole argument. Everything else is more emotional manipulation and ad hominem attacks, kind of sort of thing. No one is doing late term abortions. Good, then we shouldn't have a problem with banning them, right? You're probably right. There's probably not very many people in Utah. Probably not very many people in Utah aborting people after 18 weeks, anyways. I mean, we put that ban in. Nobody ever. I don't think that most people even know that Utah did that. Now the heartbeat bills, they've been talking about that the heartbeat bills I'm not sure about, but that might not be practical because a lot of people don't know that they're pregnant at that point, right? Mm-mm-mm. But that's the thing. You can come in and you can make a law to say to somebody, you can't do this thing. And what is the reasoning behind that law? You can't do this thing because it infringes upon the rights of other people, right? Like you can't have a late term abortion because it infringes on the right of the unborn child to be born. And we're saying that at a certain point, before they're actually born, they do get those rights, but it's not at 8 weeks. Is I guess the conservative argument right now, right? But then there's this other thing that is like, well, you can't do this thing because it's a bad thing for you. And even though I know that you want to do it, I know better and you shouldn't be doing it. That I don't like that. And it's particularly a human has to consent to let others use their body, give blood, donate organs, carry a baby. Am I gonna miss? Should I just be buying it here? Well, I think that maybe I missed my time frame for a trade. Unless it comes down back to where it was at a reasonable level, I think that we should have taken 28.39 and taken our profit. Mm-hmm. In the next 2 years, you're gonna want to hang the bankers. Okay. Okay, so what was Baron saying? International version, Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of money and the benches of those selling doves. Okay. Mm, okay, so you're saying usury, which is forbidden by the law of Moses. Yes, totally. Well, I would never charge somebody a 20% interest rate for sure. But if somebody is willing to do it, I just don't see how the government can step in and say that you're not allowed to. And I don't think that people understand the can of worms that you're opening if you do that. Sounds like Shalom's got to go. All right. Well, stay safe. Don't. I'm concerned for you with the Bitcoin thing, but as long as you've got a good stop and everything, I guess it should be okay, right? I will catch you later. Okay. That was a move down that concerns me. Was there some news there? Taiwan's foreign... No, I don't see anything recent. So, but I think what Ace you're trying to say is that the woman, the baby is there because of the woman's consent, and she has the option to um, stop consenting at any time, even if it ends up killing the baby. Is that kind of? I know that I probably butchered, like that's probably not the words that you would use, but that kind of sounds like that's the case that you're making, right? My thing, I guess let me start from a different location. My thing is you just shouldn't be able to abort a baby like the day before they're going to be born. And that to me is just wrong. Like they would be viable outside of the womb, right? No one wants dead bodies, but body autonomy is more important. Okay. Now, but do you think that somebody should be able to abort like the day that they're due? Because that to me, especially when it's like it's a baby that would be viable outside of the womb, like even if they were born, I was born premature, right? I was born like 2 weeks premature. Okay. I don't want to take something on the open, so. Just like if you refuse to donate a kidney results in someone dying, tough luck for the world. Okay. I think that's a reasonable logic. If it's viable, it's not an abortion, it's called birth. Okay. So you're saying that if you were up to the day that the baby was going to be born and you didn't want it anymore, that you wouldn't abort it, you would just give birth to it prematurely or whatever. and you would do that, right? Because that's kind of my thing is I think there's a certain point, and there's an argument about where that point is, but I think that there's a certain point at which you just cannot kill it. Some people say it's when they're born. Okay, so now there was a bit of a sell, and now they're up towards the high, and I'm feeling kind of FOMO-y, but I'm gonna stick to my plan and just not touch this for 5 to 15 minutes. Correct, you deliver the baby. All right. So I just think what I want to see is I want to see late term abortions shouldn't happen. If there's a problem, sometimes you have to give birth. If they really don't want the baby, they can give them up for adoption or whatever. But this whole thing of aborting the baby like the day before it happens and stuff is just fucking wrong. That's my thing. And I think that most Americans agree on that, right? So it kind of perplexes me that people were done. Okay, Baron says crypto was started to get rid of usury, which is the whole world eye. That the Quran and the Torah usury is also forbidden. I don't care about religion, but it's true usury will make us all slaves. No one does late-term abortions anywhere in the U.S. It does happen. I mean, I know it does happen. You can find video of it, in fact. If you really want to go look. It's probably not very common, though, I guess. Why are we talking about this on a trading stream? Because we don't want to take a trade, and we're trying to distract ourselves. But it was relevant to finance because the argument was that there are too many policies right now that are based on trying to save somebody from themselves, right? So abortion, it's a legitimate counter argument, or at least it's one that that people are going to bring up, right? Because the argument that you're going to hear on the left and what they believe is that conservatives only want to force people to carry the baby because they want people to pay for the consequences of being unchaste or whatever, right? And I think that's why Republicans want that law. Maybe for some Republicans, maybe that is why they want it. But I'm saying, no, the reason you have a law like that is because there is the rights of somebody else involved. That's the rights of the unborn child. And at some point, the child has rights, and there's a disagreement around when those rights come into play. And I think that when you're in the final trimester, that at that point that child has rights, at the very least. Now, when it comes to usury, obviously, yeah, if you're charging somebody more than 20%, you're doing something immoral. And I think that these guys that run payday loans, and there's a lot of that in Utah. There is a lot of that in Utah. What about the rights of the person who needs your kidney? Well, I don't think that anybody has a right to your kidney, but that's a little bit of a different sort of a thing because you've already been pregnant and been carrying the child for 6 months. You know, at that point, I think that the I would say that once you've carried the child for a certain amount of time, you've basically entered into a contractual agreement now with that child that you're going to carry them to term. And if you didn't want to carry them to term, you should have taken care of it before that certain point. Okay, so this is exactly why I don't take a trade in the first 5 minutes. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, no one has a right to a woman's uterus. See, what you're presenting is a slightly different argument than what people are typically saying right now. So if you start to donate a kidney, you can't stop. Yeah, I think there is a certain point at which you can't stop, but it's probably because you're unconscious, right? Mm. So they are pushing lower quite strong there, in fact, and Treasuries kind of took a step up there. So now a buy is not quite so attractive, is it? Hmm. Well, and you can see the buy volume there in the treasuries. That is something that I could follow. So I don't want to fight the mini. That would be so bad. Anyways, I mean, let's say that they get rid of it. What do you think? I think the problem that people don't realize with that one is that, like, and I guess it is kind of a similar parallel to abortion, is like if you prevent people from being able to take out high risk loans, they're probably just going to go to the mob to get them, right? Like that's going to be their only choice. Mm, I want to buy it, but I think I just need to wait. Now that we're above, okay, so the market's the S&P is selling pretty hard here. Nope. Hmm. Okay, so it's acting like they're gonna do a level break here at 18.5. Hasn't been a reliable trade lately, and the E-mini is turning around, potentially turning around. I don't think I want to buy it, but Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit because um, even though I think I presented a reasonable argument there, I don't think that it was a very convincing one to um, probably wasn't too convincing to Ace or anybody else that has holds that particular position. I think he can do better. Hmm. Fine. Well, it's acting like it could go, but I'm a little concerned about it. Let's see if another cell wave comes into the E-mini here. Definitely moved the 6J up. Nobody wants dead babies, but human bodily autonomy is more important. You agree with me? You just don't know it. Well, I still think that late term abortion should be banned, but I'm trying to find a way in which both of those positions are um, reconciled against each other. Um, okay. Late term abortions are banned, not everywhere. In Utah, they are, but there are some states that allow it all the way up until the day of birth. Like that's the whole reason that this thing started was because there was where was it? In Virginia, I think. They were even talking about, even after them being born. Yeah. All right, well, I have to say that that one didn't turn out for me. It looked like it was about to break, but you disagree. Well, we're talking about something factual, so I guess we could go and look it up. I'm gonna have to go and look up why you think that. No one can kill a baby after it's born. I don't think that anybody can. I think that people were proposing. Okay, so the governor of Virginia said, okay, so you have the birth and you make sure that the baby is comfortable, and then you have a discussion about whether or not it's viable. Was the one that they had. So they were saying you can give birth to a baby, and then the parents can choose to not give the baby the care that it needs so that it would die. And he literally said that. We're almost word for word what he said. I don't think that that's law, but there is law in some places where you can have an abortion and then the baby is born anyways and it's alive when it comes out, and um, you don't have to give the baby care. And that is a law in many places. I think in New York it is. And they've passed laws about that recently. But it isn't a thing. Well, maybe it's not. I mean, the thing that you got to say is that, like, for it to have been a law, it has to have at least happened once, right? But just the fact that they can even make a law like that doesn't concern you. Like, why would you make a law like that if it's not a thing? Okay, so they took 17 offer. It might have been a discussion, but it's nothing. Yeah. But the being able to abort up until the day of birth is definitely a thing. But we can do some research so I can see why you might be saying that. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty confident that you can have late term abortions and that it happens. 16. I have to say, I felt like that move up was really should have gone to a new high, and I'm surprised that they did not. And now that we're back to 16 and 16 and a half, and the E-mini is being really, really weird. Hmm. Now 16 is pulling. Would you be able to get 15 and a half? The saying "sell in May and go away" is so true. Yeah. Although my argument for why you do that is because the market just doesn't do a whole lot in the summer. I think I saw something on CNBC where they had done a historical analysis of that saying, and they're saying that it didn't actually that overall it didn't actually hold some edge. But when I was looking at the characteristics of how they were doing it, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's never going to be. Uh, it's always going to be in your advantage to be long, generally speaking, but there's certainly is a thing that there you can have downturns during the summer, or that the summer is at the very least a lot less active. So Shamrock says that he's long. By the way, good morning. I don't know if I've seen you here before. Um, well, it's now in the time where I could potentially buy it. There's this profile right here. It looks like that they're going to get back into it. Okay. Okay, and they pushed through it, in fact. If you don't buy XMR, you will go to hell. Okay. Hmm. Well, I think that I might have found a spot. Oh, okay. Never mind. It came back and got me. Okay. So they're already struggling there a little bit. Okay, good. Well, I think that the spot that I took is okay, but it's a little bit too volatile here. And I think I'm done. It just turns down again. Come on. Nope, I don't think so. Hmm. So Emini is being really wild now. Bostic business telling him consumer demand is strong. So are there some Fed guys talking? Is that? Did I miss something important? Ugh. It looks like my spot is okay, but not optimal. They're not just taking this bid, even though it looks close. See that? We're kind of ranging around like maybe they're going to bounce here higher. It looks pretty wishy-washy here, though. Yeah. Okay, well, they took a little bit of a dive there, and the Treasuries didn't react at all. In fact, the 16 is kind of starting to pull now. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. The amount of play that it's getting here at 16 says that I picked a bad spot. Abortion is a tough subject. Well, it's definitely a, what is the word? Passionate subject for most people, right? Hmm. This move down, the volume definitely came out of it. It seems to me like Treasuries seem to think that it's over in the E-mini. I know I broke one guy's nose over it. Wow, really? Well, the thing that irks me about the way that that debate usually tends to go is that there's um, a lot of that discussion tends to veer off into uh, you know emotional manipulation and logical fallacies and accusing people of believing things that they don't actually believe and all that kind of stuff. This is kind of like the recipe for toxicity, right? Yeah, this sucks, dude. I took the long. It would have been a good long, but the mini just came down a lot more than expected. Now I appear to be stuck here with 16. Maybe they buy it up. I don't know. It's a heated debate, yeah. It's going to be a tough week for traditional markets. Well, so far they seem to be handling things okay. Yeah, see. So I'm done now. Well, that kind of sucks. Thinking it was going to happen. The E-mini is acting like it could happen. Like it is just really volatile this morning, isn't it? This 30-minute bar in ZB is ugly. Yeah. I've basically got a gigantic doji right now. You see, I think that 15.5 would have been a better place to have bought it. Now that we've been down here, went up to the high, failed the high, came down, tested the high again, saw the opening price get rejected. I think that there's a reasonably good chance that they break through the low. So I don't think that a buy here makes sense. Maybe in the E-mini, if the E-mini comes back, you could take one long. 49.27 is Friday's high, and buyers don't seem to want it. Yeah. It's definitely not acting the way that it did last week, right? Okay, let's reset it. I could try one more, but they'd have to give me a really good look. not so sure that the treasuries are going to give me that either. It'd have to be a 15.5 though, I think. Hmm. Okay. So you see big order down here at, it's way down there. Oh, 41.50, 38.50. Right now, though, they're acting like they don't necessarily want to go down there. Could have taken the 15.5. Yes, doesn't quite look like it's done here. I think your parrot wants to join in. Well, he can hear my wife waking people up upstairs, and he wants the blanket off of him and food. Hmm. I'm gonna play this game with me again. They're not getting down very far in ES. They can't touch 28.42 is where I have my order. Pretty tight range it's trading here, though. Okay, a little bit of a breakout higher. See, the deltas in the E-mini kind of indicate that there could be more to the downswing, but it didn't go. Didn't get far. Okay, that was curious. A bit of a down sweep there in ES. Cryptocurrencies have a 4-year cycle? Okay. I don't know if that's a strategy that I would be doing. Every 4 years buy and sell or something like that. No. So is the E-mini gonna break those highs now? See, this 15.5 is still acting like you're not even gonna get filled. The E-mini is awfully close to the regular session high and not just going for it yet, but I think a new high is probably pretty likely. So these two things don't really line up in my mind. Being an investor is a different skill from being a trader. Well, yeah. I just don't think that you should ever make your investment just based on a specific time. That it's been 4 years since the last bottom or something like that. You gotta have more to it than that, right? I still didn't go for it. I don't know. Donald Trump looks like Bernie Sanders is history. Sleepy Joe Biden is pulling ahead. And think about it. I'm only here because of Sleepy Joe and the man who took him off the 1% trash heap, President Obama. China wants Sleepy Joe badly. Ooh. So they've been trying to convince him to not talk about Joe Biden, but he did it. In fact, it almost looks like he's pumping him up, like that Bernie Sanders is cratered and poses no threat anymore, and that Joe Biden is definitely going to be the nominee. Okay, so that was an aggressive take at 15.5. Especially since there was a 6K at 5 at one point. For them to be trading into that at 15 is a little odd. That it just all pulled. That might mean that we do get a new low there, especially if the E-mini actually buys here. Kind of curious that they're not. They're still buying it at 15.5. Okay, my spot in the queue here is kind of going interesting, but I am at the back of the line. Okay. So that was an okay fill. Even he's not exactly cooperating. That they came back here and didn't just like totally bust a new high and move much higher is um, unusual. I always find it strange when they come so close and they don't take it, you know? You'll start buying when the Dow Jones is below 7K. I don't even know what. I don't watch the Dow Jones. Why would you watch the Dow? Do you have a statistical edge on that? Should have been Sloppy Joe. Yeah, why didn't he say Sloppy Joe? That's a good question. Sleepy Joe. Okay, now I'm seeing this size at 16. I don't see it in the other instruments, just in the 10-year. Yeah, even if you're an investor, the S&P 500 is a much better indicator of the stock market than the Dow Jones. I used to like to look at the Dow Jones because it would give you kind of strange levels that I thought were effective. Hmm. Seems to not like me today, guys. The way that I got filled was okay, but now that 15.5 isn't going bid again. Okay. Wow. Iceberg at 15. Traded through the iceberg. Actually, we're able to build up a good bit at 15 fairly quickly. 15.5 not pulling though. E-mini, they did make like a brief new high and then they pulled back again. Very curious. 63 at 16. It's a big wall there that I'm concerned about. They're still not just buying 15.5. In fact, nobody's bought it yet. Even when you're getting the sells in ES. You know, markets that love you one day hate you the next, right? Well, they were very kind last week, weren't they? I think that here again, I did catch a spot of some sort, but it may not have been the kind of spot that I want. And ES looks there. ES is having trouble making new highs. Like it's getting up to the VWAP and they're pushing it back, but it's not just like making a decision, you know. But this 15.5 concerns me. They'll flip it. Okay, 101 have bought into it now. See, so like now pulling it down to 1400. It's not prompting anybody to buy it. There was an iceberg at 15. I mean, I would think that this guy would be maybe getting concerned, but it doesn't go. And it goes offer at 15 way too easily. And they're struggling to make it go bid again at 15. Okay. How much of an iceberg is it going to be here? Saw a couple of stops there into 28, 45, 25. Okay. This tick up is looking a little more confident. They're still not just piling into 15.5. Seems like somebody doesn't want it. See that? That's crazy that it's been offered 1400 for quite some time and still nobody buy it. And they're not the same thing in the 5 year. 5 year is not as extreme, but there's nobody buying 01. $26 now bid at 15, 28. They might even stack to 3. Maybe. Nope, not that time. And it flips and it flips again. Oh man. Well, they might be holding back, but this looks like incredibly iffy action. Interesting that time the E-mini took a little bit of a step down, but the Treasuries still went offer. And there's been a lot selling at 15 too, by the way. So I think that we are not. Market is not on our side here. So everything that I've been saying has been bad. See that right there? This sucks. E-mini's still not going though. The heck? That was weird. The level 2 reacted to me moving my order there. Those treasuries can be frustrating. I once found once a key level breaks and holds is best for an inverse move in ZN. Well, I've been finding some spots and stuff, but it's The momentum just never ends up going my way, does it? Now this right here, though, see, it was difficult to make them buy into 14.5. They're not really holding a super strong bid at 14.5 either now that they've got it. The E-mini is not making a new high yet again. They're pushing down to the lower end of this range. You would think that they would have broken it by now, but ES is basically meat grinder, and Treasuries seem to be doing the same thing, although Treasuries do seem like risk on at the moment. Did the same with the cryptocurrencies as Bitcoin went under 7K. Well, I'll tell you what, if it comes up and it buys and they move up to, beyond 10K or new all-time high, then obviously you're going to look like a genius. But if it doesn't, you're going to look awfully stupid. Kind of as, probably almost as dumb as I look right now, I think. Okay, well, they are holding, there is some size at 14. So this looks like they've established a pretty solid range here. There's some buying at 14.5 too. Part of the thing that I find interesting is that through this range here in ES, the delta has been negative. So it's like the market orders are selling into it, but then they give up. It's basically what I think is happening. And that's not a good thing for us in our position. For us, I think that we need to see the bottom end of this range in ES, just completely pull out. Nope, now they're going to go for it, huh? Yeah. I think I've been in this for a long time with it looking bad. An investor does not look for short-term gains. Okay. I mean, if you're an investor, I don't understand why you'd be watching this, but okay. So there's their highs. The 05 and 07 are stacking in the 5-year. So that's not too encouraging. Okay, so how much do you actually have stats to show your long-term profitability? Part of the problem here is they're giving me just enough to stay in here. And then they do that. See? Oh, okay, so that was interesting. They stopped it that time. Some come to chat and others come to chill for Joe Biden. Oh, man, who's chilling for Joe Biden? So my video this week that we're coming up here in 5 minutes. Now they took that offer. I think that I'm done, guys. How much is that going to be total? Yeah, that's pretty icky. Shouldn't have done it. Should have gone short. No one. It's a joke. Okay. Okay. Well, I was hoping somebody was. I would be. There's too many people watching right now. That's the issue here. They're all watching. They want to come and see me fail. I don't think that I'm in a good place here. Like, I knew that it was questionable, but I was like, well, I have one more and it's kind of acting like it could hold. Then it stopped, and now I've got to stack at 15. Like, really? Should I really be in this? No. ES took a long time to do what it did, though. You know? Should have been buying ES. And I feel paralyzed. Well, I can move this here. That would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen. That's probably the spot where it turns around, right? Probably exactly where it turns around. They're going to stop me out, and then they're going to go up. That's where I'm like, we're getting too popular. Seth has to get taken out now. As close as it is to low value, you're probably right. Well, it could be. The problem is, though, is that the E-mini is probably the driver here. And the E-mini could probably keep going all the way up to 2860 for all we know. They are close to a spot where maybe they turn. But, yeah. But I'm looking, it's way too much of a reversal play, you know? I was standing too much in front of it. I thought that I had a spot, but when think about it now and what has happened, I think that was a little crazy. You know? I made a bad decision there, I think. See, so even now, the 14 is acting like, they don't want to hold it, and look, immediately 1,000 goes on it. So it's clear to me that they're still short. The shorts are still in control of this market, and I'm on the wrong side of it. There was a big sell there in ES. The trader, the world remains deeply united in rewarding anything that keeps rates low. Well, why not? Everybody loves low rates, right? Except for the few people that their business is on higher rates, then of course those people don't like it. Yeah. I don't think a trend is going to develop this late, bearing some fundamental change, but I'd give it a few ticks from low value before it turns on you and rubs in your face. Yeah, well, I agree, but I'm trying to get out here. I just don't want to hit into 13.5 is the problem. Okay, well, that uptick was a little bit better. The ES is selling here. Volume-wise, it's selling. Or only down like a point, but fairly significant profit taking happening over in ES. Okay. How much leverage do you use? Like as little as possible? I don't know if that answers the question. I'm only taking one contract here. So you can see right here on the left, that's how much I make or lose. And sometimes I'm Sometimes I don't even take these live, right? So, in fact, coming here now that it's like towards the end of May, it's going to be more rare that I take a live trade because the summer is just terrible for scalping. Yeah, it's $500 is the day trade margin requirement for one contract. Yeah, shredding the NAR isn't leverage technically already built into futures. Yeah. See, you don't, I wouldn't look at futures in the same way that you do like options. Like in options, how much leverage you put into it like really matters and that sort of a thing. In futures, it's always the same amount. It's for every contract, it's $500, and you don't adjust your risk based on how much you have in your account and things like that. You size up as you've built things and based on how confident you are on the trade. But and sometimes I have taken two contracts, but not confident enough to be doing that. When I hear leverage, I think 100 times leverage on forex sites. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But when you think about it that way, like a third standard deviation move, second, third standard deviation moves, we can have it move 16 ticks. You can make 50% in a day. So 50% of, the 500 margin, you can make $250. Just like that. So when you consider that, yeah, futures is a lot of margin. But you can, it's also very controllable, you know. Yeah, there's tons of margin, but if you lose 250 on one trade, you're probably stupid. You're probably being stupid. Not that it doesn't happen, but you're probably being stupid on one trade over the course of three trades. Well, you can see what just happened. I know guys lost their life savings doing it. Well, trading futures is really fucking hard. But here's the big thing. Uh, See, they were with us for a second, and now they're gone, and it's still not there. And the E-mini sold so much on there. I'm skeptical that they're going to be able to get another sell for us to get out here. I think that they gave us our opportunity to get out, and it was only one tick. And it pisses me off. Yeah, that's why the new micros are great. Yeah, because it's only $1 per tick. But anyways, I mean, so here's the thing: the way that you look at it, here's where I think that people get messed up with futures. You as a day trader, you cannot be profitable trading the same market every day. You're not going to be profitable every day. There are going to be times of the year and situations where it's going to be favorable to your strategy, and there's going to be times of the year where it's unfavorable. Here comes the stop. Yep. Shit. Did that really give me minus one, minus? Fuck. Well, that's it for me for a while. Three in a row. I'm done. So, anyways, in treasuries, when it becomes summertime, scalping is very hard. Kind of starts to act the way that it's been doing today. Yeah, that what just happened there. I mean, I wanted out, right? But I thought that I was going to get a little bit of a pullback and I could take off one or two. No. Bad trade. Bad trading today. Of course, it's Monday. And that's kind of this type of place where I would have trouble, but there has been okay trend. It's just been going down. If I had taken that short, mm-hmm. It's being range bound though. I mean, I think at some point it's going to turn around and move higher a little bit, but seems like somebody really wants to sell it today. Trade bonds in my style scalping. I see you trade them almost every day. What draws you back to them? So, I think the thing that's advantageous for bonds, first of all, it's pretty easy to see if the trend is with you. Like through that whole thing. Let's just keep in mind I'm not trading very well right now. Okay. Um, ugh, I'm sorry. That last one, I'm just really mad that it gave me slippage. Anyways, and that I saw it because I mean I did good last week, but I gave up a lot of it, right? Yeah. Need to do it like that. Yeah. I mean I didn't give up all of it, but I gave up a good portion of it. Anyways. Oh, I showed it. I'll show you. Wait, go back. That's how I'm doing. So it's like, no, it was 90. It was 90. Anyways. So what was I saying? Sorry. You can tell. You can tell how mad that make me, right? Okay, focus. You generally can tell which way the trend is going because you'll see that it ticks up a lot easier than it ticks down or vice versa, right? So that's one thing that's nice about it. And you can give yourself a very small stop, like really 2 ticks in many cases is all you have to give yourself. But most of all, especially in the 10-year, because it's so liquid, the cumulative delta is a lot more useful. It's really hard for treasuries to move against the market orders. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so check out Axia. Yeah, I watch Axia from time to time. I kind of got into that most of the time they watch videos, it was stuff that I had already learned myself, so I don't watch their channel too much anymore. But they're a really great channel. If you're trading and you haven't followed Axia, I totally would. Yeah, what are you trading? Bitcoin? Well, yeah. See, the thing you can remember is Shalom here is long Bitcoin. I don't know where he said he bought. I think he bought it 7,000. But he's very much basing that on that it's going to be a pullback, and I've got a lot of information this is going to be wrong. So he comes in and we talk about it, but okay. So Shredding the Nurse says, I've been using 6 tick stops on E-mini. I found bonds to be slow, but there's times they really start moving. Yes. So, okay. So 2 things here. First of all, in ES, so what I would do shredding is go and look at either harmonic rotations or the range for the time period that you want to trade. So like, if you trade the first 2 hours of the equities open, you buy, sorry, I just lost my focus there for a second. You trade those first 2 hours and you only want to hold it for about 30 minutes. Then what I would do is I would go and look at, okay, every 30-minute bar, what is the average range for it? And what's the most common range? And at what point does it start to become a lot less common? And what you're going to find is that there's steps at 8 and 16. So if you are trading E-minis on the open and you have a 16 tick stop, there's still a really good chance that they're going to stop you out before something like really goes right. Um, that's why I tend to avoid that time period, because I trade it like before and like the 15 minutes afterwards. And then if I'm catch the right spot, then generally speaking, it's not going to stop me out unless I'm really actually I'm wrong, right? Same with treasuries. That's why like my emergency stop is at 4, or the most that I'm willing to take is 4, because if it goes 4 against you, then you really are wrong. And that's what happened, right? I bought it, and I really was wrong. I just held it through the whole thing. It was bad, and I'm dumb. Don't do what I did today, because what's happening to me right now is that the market has changed up. It is now somewhat of a risk-on market and somewhat more of a range-bound market. And I was looking for it to get scary again, and it didn't. And so what I'm doing is like the exact opposite of what you should be doing today. The trade today would have been seeing the level break at 18.5, seeing it not happen, and then shorting it at like 18 and holding it. Well, and then at 18, you probably would want to take it off at like 15, because there's a chance of it mean reverting at that point. Make sense? But use the average range to figure out what your stop should be, and that will work a lot better for you. Because if you got 6 ticks, if you're giving yourself 6 ticks on the E-mini, like, you've got to be really, really accurate for that to hold. Okay, so there was that. I layer buys into the Bitcoin under 7K. Well, that's fine, but it's not even gonna hold 3. For quite frankly, this rise is, here's the thing. This is the problem with Bitcoin. This is what drives me crazy about Bitcoin. So you have some guy, and they say, "Oh, I want to get into cryptocurrencies," and it goes up, and you make money. So you think you're a genius. Now here's the thing. You got lucky, because anybody that bought Bitcoin, before that 2017 thing, they made money, right? They made money, right? Didn't mean that they were good traders. I bought in 23 and then sold and layered back and it's under 7K. Okay, that's great, but it doesn't matter. Here's the thing that's like, where is it going to go right now? Like in the next year? And I'm telling you, like, if you think that it's going to go up and make a new all-time high in the next year, you're going to be wrong. Well, I shouldn't say something that quite strong, but that's really what I think. It's not going to make a new all-time high. I'm skeptical that it's going to even get above 8K this year. I think we might be at the top. So I'm just saying, if you're layering back in at 7K and it goes lower, are you really doing that well? Probably not. But that's where I say is like, you gotta have to. I get really skeptical. I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you, because I've enjoyed talking to you and everything like that. But anytime that somebody comes in and starts boasting about how well they're doing, like, that's immediately a red flag to me. It's like anybody that does really well, they just show us. Okay, like Ace never came in and said, "Oh, I'm the best trader. You should watch and see what I do." No, he was just like, "Hey, look, here's one. And here's one, and here's one." And after about a week or two, we're like, "Holy shit, he is really good." Right? So that's where I have to be like, okay, so if you're going to boast, then like show some stats or something. Like you have like a screenshot where you can show like the all of the trades that like I can show you this, right? And I can show you all the trades I've made, and you can see that I've been really cautious, but I had a really good lucky run, and then today I did poorly. And I shouldn't have taken that last trade for sure. Should have just said two and ZN long, and why did I buy it again? Shouldn't have done that. Yeah, and Ace calls his trades live. Yep. So we know 100% because he does it every time. Yeah, Ace does lose money too. Today was the first time I can think of in like 3 weeks that Ace made a bad call though. uh, I was actually that's the thing that really pisses me off, man. Is if I come back, just showing today. Okay, so I took it at 28.41, and I could have made 10 points on it, but it went and it stopped me out first. I didn't pick the right spot. I don't know how to pick the right spot in ES yet. There's something I'm missing still. Anyways. Well, yeah, but so you're saying an investor does not care if it goes to an all-time high instantly. Yeah, but you don't think that an investor cares if they buy into something and you lose 80% of it? And then it's like, oh, I could have bought it for 80% cheaper and I could have 4 times as much money. You do that, then what you're going to do is you're going to buy in at an all-time high and you're going to lose it all. And then you're going to find out that actually you pretty much came out break even on what you put into it. You know? Anyways, I'm just saying it, especially if you're going to say you're a long-term trader. There's two things. Number one, we're scalping, so I don't know. Telling them about long-term trading, nobody here's really going to care. So I don't quite understand why you want to tell us. But then number two is that I have no way of being able to see if the way that you trade or what you say has any kind of an edge. Yeah, if you dollar cost average from 200K, 1% per week, you would be in a profit right now. Yeah, right now. Wouldn't have been in a profit back when it was at 3K. It isn't all that hard to use the size of your account and a zero price point to determine what size you should trade in order to effectively average into trades. Yeah. Well, we can see the range, can't we? Can't lose money if you don't sell. That's exactly it, shredding. That's exactly it. I'm just saying that here's the thing that matters is this a bottom, and did we just see a bottom in Bitcoin or not? I say no. That's the call. He used to do it in Forex. Explaining it to people is hard. Yeah. I get you. Well, where did we get out at? They just went and took us out and now they're doing nothing. And this is where it gets kind of weird for me, is it's like the market's after you. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that if I had sold treasuries, that it would have done the opposite thing. Or it would have stopped me out first before going lower, you know? Somebody big must be selling, though, to sell into that. Nobody knows the bottom or the top? Well, that's just where I'm saying, okay, I traded on a long term, but I've been pretty good at calling the tops and the bottoms. I have a method that is extremely reliable. Well, has been up until now. Of course, it can always stop, but when my thing that has been, almost 100% accurate for the past, 8 years or something, says that this market is incredibly overbought and that people should be concerned here. It's kind of hard for me to sit back and be like, oh yeah, you totally buy Bitcoin and dollar cost average into it. You'll be okay in the long now. I can't recommend to people to buy it, especially when the fundamental reasons that I hear that people want to buy it, I know are bullshit. Like, oh, there's going to be a war, so Bitcoin's got no. No, listen. It's a risk asset. You got to treat it as a risk asset. Risk assets don't do well during a war. It's just crazy. That's just crazy. You're gonna if you're trading like that, at some point you're gonna get fucked. And you're gonna lose it all. Okay. So let's see what we got today. Well, it did come back. It's giving me 166 now. So that's where I'm saying, like, if it doesn't like come completely back now, that's incredibly unprecedented. It'd be unprecedented. And I just kind of wonder, what is it that you got that is going to tell you that is a better edge than that? This could be wrong. We shall see. I'm just posting all these charts here. DCR. Doge. I don't know. I appreciate that you guys there's so many people watching and you're all talking today. I wish you would change the subject. Bitcoin is basically a Ponzi scheme. Well, I feel the I feel the obligation to warn people. Yeah. Anyways. But I appreciate that even though I'm trading like shit today and I feel like shit today and I feel awful, that you guys are still here with me talking to me. So sometimes this is going to happen. I think after a run like that a day like today was inevitable, but should have stopped after the two. I shouldn't have taken that last one, as was really should not have happened. Should not have happened. Makes me mad. I don't want to be taking 3 trades on the same instrument in the same direction and lose on all of them, right? That means you were fighting something that you shouldn't have. Had some spots that were okay. It's not like any one individual trade was terribly bad, although I think I managed that last one really poorly because it should have been a -3. They gave me a pullback, but it wasn't very much. And I think that the market maker tried to give me plenty of warning too. Like, that's the other thing. Is we were in it against all indication that the spot wasn't holding. Okay. Okay. No, I didn't put a title. So there's that. Publish. Okay, now let's come back over here to our. Let's leave our comment. What do I want to say? This is just bad. Oh man. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so let's see here. Some final little bit of comments here before we have to run off. This is going to be the best trading room on the net in short order. Well, I tell you what, it is already. Well, the Discord is great. Go and look at the Discord. So yeah, the Discord is great. And there's a lot of really great traders. I'm just trading like shit today, and I'm probably going to trade like shit for a long time. Unless some more what is Ryan saying here? I mean, focus treasuries. Yeah. Hold on a second here. What's all this stuff? What can I respond to here? Uzi's got some good comments, but I don't think I have the time to get into that. Yeah, anyways, I was gonna say, like, I do not do well in the summer. Just saying. I do not do well in the summer. So, and I don't do well when it changes. Like, the market has clearly changed it. Like, the E-mini wants to be risk on today. The treasuries want to be risk on today. And even though they sold there, it looks like that 28.30 is getting rejected pretty hard. It looks like that there was a lot of absorption there at 16, and we're now moving lower and below that. You know, there's a change, and I thought that the early action made me think that things were getting crazy again, and then it didn't happen. There's that 6K again, but it's at 12.5. The market looks pretty. There is a big bid below us in the CB. I like the grains in the summer. Shalom, the problem I had with trading is you make a ton of money really fast and it gets exciting, then you lose 3 days in a row and give it all back. Well, yeah. Sometimes we get suckered back into that. That's where I'm saying, like, the key is to know where your edge is, right? I suspected that my edge was going to not be very useful today. I shouldn't have taken that last trade. The first two and then one in E-mini should have been enough for me to say, okay, I don't have it today. I don't know why I took that. I kept saying to myself, oh, it's like it's going to turn here and I think it can make some of it back. That was like a total perfect example of like revenge trading, I think. It didn't take away everything that I made last week, but it was a pretty good chunk of it, and I feel really bad. And the issue is that if I don't have it, which is to say if we don't get some more market action, I have to look. Tomorrow is kind of like almost a no news Tuesday. Oh, there's existing home sales, but other than that, Wednesday tends to be okay, but there's like almost no real news this week. Manufacturing PMI on Thursday. This is just a really, really terrible time of year for me to trade. You get sucked back into it. Yeah. All right. Anyways, if you have too much, it's time for me to go. I will catch you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay profitable, unlike myself today. Later.